Welcome to Kathryn Raaker's World. Innovation, culture, adventure, fashion and health, artists, destinations, traditions. This is Kathryn Raaker's World.
Hi, this is Kathryn Raaker, Kathryn Raaker's World, the syndicated television show, and our syndicated radio show, Let's Just Talk. My guest today is Eddie Witz, and his band is The Most High, and they brought together a soulful flavor of Americana, the heartfelt storytelling of folk, catchy melodies of pop, and the laid-back vibes of Jamaican and Cali reggae to create a musical experience that transcends genres. This electric mix creates a sonic landscape that is both familiar and refreshingly new, with lyrics calling to grounding, opening, and elevating. Eddie's vocal stands between the bold and gentle, his own talent complemented by the musical genius of his celebrated Jamaican Grammy-winning producers, Wayne and Brian Jobson, the iconic bass mechanic, the legendary pen of Jeff Perry, and exceptional award-winning instrumentalists such as percussionist Adam Topol, famed Jamaican drummer and producer Sly Dunbar, and fellow esteemed Jamaican keyboardist Robbie Lynn, and many others. At home in live performances, Eddie's artistry shines brightly, emanating an experience that's undeniably uplifting. I want to welcome you to my show today, and we got to see and hear the beginning of your newest first record, and first video.
First music video, which we shot more like a travel memoir in Jamaica.
Right. Was that exciting for you?
Oh, that was a dream come true. I've been to Jamaica a few times in my life. I've been blessed to travel to Jamaica. First time when I was a child with my parents, and I fell in love with the whole vibe of the island. And then later in my teenage years, I had the privilege of visiting Bob Marley's mausoleum, where he was laid to rest in the parish of St. Anne, where we shot this video in 9 Mile, where Bob Marley was born and grew up as a child. And that was a really mystical experience and an uplifting experience. And later, when my wife and I were getting engaged, we went to Jamaica, and again on our honeymoon. So similarly to Jeff Berry, my songwriting partner, he traveled to Jamaica for his honeymoon. And that's where he was inspired to write a top 10 hit in 1970 called Montego Bay, which has been covered and played all over the world. It was a smash hit, and it's that song that really was the emphasis to the sequel, the follow-up, Let Me Take You to My Island, which is my first record.
Right. And the video is absolutely first rate. Absolutely. It's gorgeous. And you are such a talented young man. And I have to tell you that I bet your parents are really proud of you. And right?
I hope so. We all want our parents to be proud of us. Right now, I'm focusing on trying to make my children proud of me, but I am actually focused on my parents as well, as you know, they are getting up there in age and looking at the sunset of their life. And but luckily, with all this anti-aging technologies, I think we're all going to live to 120. So that's
I've said that for a long time. I'm living to 150 or whatever it was, and I think it's my genes, because my background is Polish and a lot of other things. And you know, you look at Martha Stewart and go, she doesn't look her age, right?
Right.
So you're as young as you feel. You know, tell us your backstory your unique backstory of your new song, My Island, and how it came to be. Do you think you're the next Jimmy Buffett, or do you want to be?
Well, I absolutely adore and love Jimmy Buffett. And interesting, I would be just to be, 1% of Jimmy Buffett would be an amazing experience. I mean, he did build $1 billion empire around the Margaritaville brand. And interestingly enough, my producing partner, Native Wayne Jobson, and his brother, Brian Jobson, were writing partners with Jimmy Buffett. They wrote, Wayne wrote a song with Jimmy on one of his albums. And my second song, Jamaica Time, was actually written specifically for Jimmy Buffett. And unfortunately, or fortunately, he didn't get a chance to record it. So that's a song that we'll be looking to release next. And it gives me a really intimate connection with Jimmy Buffett because it's a Margaritaville style song. I mean, I definitely feel like I'm in that Jimmy Buffett sort of realm when it comes to the conscious level of music that I'm singing about. It's not so much about drinking margaritas, because that's not the focus. It's really about disconnecting from the stresses of modern day life and modern day society and trying to tap back into our essence and what makes life sacred, whether that's hanging out with your dog, hanging out with your children, taking your shoes off and walking in the grass for a moment, maybe laying on a yoga mat and doing some breathing exercises, and just remembering how blessed we are, how grateful we are to be healthy in the moment and to live our lives. So My Island, the whole idea of that song, it's about that dynamic. If you listen to the lyrics, crazy headlines, stressed out deadlines, we're on a never ending hamster wheel, but let me take you to my island is really an analogy for let me connect with you, let me love you, or let me bring you somewhere physically or spiritually or mentally for a moment where we can remember how precious our relationships are together, our loved ones, because our time is very short. Jimmy just passed away. And it's sad, and obviously his legacy is joy and living and squeezing every last drop out of life. For me, it's happening, later in life. I've had a lot of experience in life, and we all go through different traumas. We have good things that happen in life and bad things.
Right.
And what happened to me actually in the pandemic is I was going through some traumatic things, both personally and professionally, on top of COVID and the pandemic, which we were all stressed out about. And because I allowed my body to be basically overcome with fear and anxiety and stress, I conjured a shingles attack, which attacked the right side of my face. It's the same. I'm suffering from the same condition that Justin Bieber has been suffering from. It's called Ramsay-Hunt syndrome. And it's been about a 3-year healing journey for me to try to regrow and repair my facial nerves and as well as get back the range of motion in the face. But it's been such a blessing because it's really like the universe giving me an opportunity to slow down, Eddie. We're going to teach you now to not let anger and fear and all these sort of emotions take over your nervous system. We're going to give you a permanent reminder that you got to stay calm, you got to stay neutral, you got to focus on always living in a mode of forgiveness, acceptance, and being grateful. As hard as that may be, and I'm not saying it's always easy when traumatic things occur or loved ones take advantage of you or there's betrayal in your life, which can happen. You got to remember that we're all human. We're not perfect. We all make mistakes. So we got to lean into forgiveness, acceptance, and being grateful for those experiences. So my island has been it's been this incredible gift, because I didn't write the song. So Jeff Barry, who is one of the most prolific songwriters to ever walk the face of the planet. In the 1960s, he worked in the Brill Building in New York. He was developing artists like Neil Diamond, writing songs like Be My Little Baby and Going to the Chapel for the Ronettes, Do Wah Diddy, and Olivia Newton-John's hit song, I Honestly Love You. And because he had a relationship with Native Wayne, they were developing some songs for Big Mountain, another reggae artist. I was the lucky recipient of My Island at the perfect time where they didn't have an artist or a producer to work on that song. And when they first showed me some of the lyrics, I flipped out because my background was in theater. In college, I was a theater major. So I'm used to these long soliloquies, right? I did a lot of Shakespeare. So modern music these days, typically very little lyrics. It's very minimal. But now I've got this huge song, this 5-minute song with all these lyrics and lyrics and lyrics. It's because it's a story. But the meaning of it was, hit me deep in the heart. And of course, we had to go back to Jamaica because the original song Montego Bay put Jamaica on the map of tourism. Right. It exploded Jamaica tourism. And we wanted to pay homage to Jamaica. So we flew out there. Native Wayne and his brother Brian, I mean, they're like the godfathers of Jamaica. These gentlemen, they've been in the music industry for over 50 years.
Right.
They worked with Bob Marley when he was alive. They had their own band when Bob was alive. Then they shifted over into writing and more producing. But they were able to roll out the red carpet for us in Jamaica.
Oh, wow.
in a local way. So we went, firstly, they have a home in the mountains in the parish of St. Anne that has a 7-series waterfall system in their backyard.
Oh, wow.
So in the video, when I'm standing on that waterfall, that's in their backyard.
Oh,
so
wow.
No one has shot any content back there before. And it was magical because when we got to Jamaica, the weather was very iffy. And if there was a cloudy or a dark day, we really wouldn't have been able to shoot in that waterfall backyard. But amazingly, the sun was blaring and it came out pretty much every day we had to shoot. We had perfect weather. Like we make jokes, the Jamaican gods were on our side. They were like, we want this to go well.
Right.
There was a lot of magical things that occurred one day, day 2. Wayne's friend, John Bailey, owns resorts and hotels and food companies in Jamaica. And he let us jump on his yacht for the day, which was very nice of him. And we pulled up to the Laughing Waters, which is where the James Bond Dr. No film was famously filmed, where these 2 waterfalls that dribble into the Caribbean Sea. And as we're there and we're shooting footage, we had a drone flying and everyone's yelling at me going, Eddie, there's a giant heart-shaped sand dune that was naturally created by the tides. It was the exact shape of this Jamaican. This is a famous sort of oblong heart shape that you'll see in Jamaica a lot. Shape was formed in the sand. They're like, lay in the middle and we'll get the drone and we'll zoom out. And we captured this incredible shot. I couldn't have dug that shape in the ocean, in the sand. It just naturally occurred that day.
So God made it possible for you.
The gods of Jamaica, that's for sure. But yeah, and then I wasn't sure, I was like, well, what shoes am I going to wear when I'm shooting the video? I don't want to wear flip-flops or regular shoes. I ended up completely shoeless, right? Because why would you wear shoes? You're in the open, on a waterfall, you're walking down the beach. So that was very grounding, and very natural in that state. But, the whole world around us, you're in this rainforest, the plants, the bugs, the animals, everything's so alive. The fish, when we were playing the guitar in this amazing lagoon on Mahogany Beach, which is a beach in Ocho Rios. So most of what we shot was in Ocho Rios, which is separate from Montego Bay. Ochi, it's called Ochi. It's another town about an hour and a half north of Montego Bay. And there's a public beach there called Mahogany Beach where the locals hang out. So they have a local DJ and a restaurant blasting music at the beach, which is really cool. And then over to the side, there's this cove and this lagoon where the water from the hills of Jamaica go under this, ancient limestone system and then pour out right here into this lagoon that then seeps into the ocean.
We need to take a break.
Okay, let's take a break.
Let's take a break. We are back with our wonderful guest, who is such a talented musician. And do you also write lyrics as well?
Yes, I've been learning how to be a lyricist and a songwriter. Luckily, my wife, Michelle, who's from Australia originally, has been a lyricist and a songwriter since she was, 12 or 13 years old. So she's definitely the most deadly tool in my toolbox. And we perform together live, and she's actually singing on most of my records because I have completed an entire album. I'm just slowly waterfall dripping singles at the moment, but come March, I think we'll drop sort of an EP of 5 or 6 or 7 songs.
Okay, so my next question is, what was it like to meet Barry? And that's from my time period, which is exciting because, those are the things that I remember. Those are the most wonderful. My dad was a lyricist as well as being a musician. And the funny thing is, I just found the original BMI contract the other day. I can't believe it. And I want to do a repeat of my dad's song. So it's pretty cool. Anyhow, so my next question is, tell us about Sirius XM Radio's acceptance of My Island. Tell me about that. How did that happen?
Well, hopefully we'll get the confirmation today, but I have a friend from high school, Adam Leibowitz, who actually specializes in repping jazz musicians and is a radio promoter and has a label for jazz musicians. So he was just a lovely friend. He said, let me send My Island to the head of programming at XM Sirius Radio.
Wow.
And see what he thinks. And amazingly, he came back just yesterday and said he loves it and he wants to put it on. There's a vacation channel, and there's, of course, the Margaritaville Jimmy Buffett channel, and then there's the Kenny Chesney No Shoes XM Sirius channel. And he thinks the song would be a perfect fit, for those.
I think so too. I absolutely mean that.
So I'm over the moon because that's sort of it's the modern day equivalent of like your song getting played on like a major radio station back in the day, right? But
then remember what was going on back in the day. There was payola. And
right.
That was wild, believe me. Absolutely. So this is exciting. Can you explain the healing chakras you incorporated into the song?
Yeah, so that was interesting. So because of my experience with Ramsay Hunt syndrome and the nerve damage in my face, I was going to a lot of sound bath healing events where they have the sound bowls, and a lot of the sound bowls are tuned. I learned that they're tuned to frequencies that coincide with our chakras in the human body. Then I started learning about the solfeggio frequencies, which are really the chakra frequencies. And I met a young man named Zion at one of these events that said, Eddie, I have figured out a way to incorporate those frequencies into modern music. So I brought him into my mixing studio. We spent a whole day on an alternative mix where we would create what they call buses. So we'd have like the third eye chakra going into the snare drum on My Island. And then the kick drum, which is the heartbeat of the song, we would add the heart chakra. So basically, when you listen to that version, it's a subtle difference. It makes the song a little bit warmer. And if you close your eyes and you really get into it, it's what we hope it's doing. It's really harmonizing the human body, the chakra systems, and just making you feel more harmonized. Usually they do these types of things with more instrumental music and meditational soundscape style music. But I figured, why not try to incorporate it into a more modern pop song especially for my island, I felt like it would be a good experiment. So I'm still experimenting with the process with some of my other songs, but it's really, this is music for me has been a healing journey. I never thought I would focus on music professionally until less than 3 years ago. Because of the pandemic and the shingles attack, I had a lot of material inside of me. And when Native Wayne came over my house for dinner one night, he saw me just playing around the piano and the guitar and said, "Oh my God, I forgot that you're a good singer." And he handed me a song that he was working on because he is producing the sequel to Cool Runnings for Disney. He was involved in the original Jamaica bobsled film for Disney in 92, 93. The sequel is about the true story of the female Jamaican bobsled team. So he handed me a song and said, "If you want, I'll introduce you to a producer and I'll get you in a recording studio and you go work on it." And that was the catalyst. I was like, "What? Really?" I've never done that before. I mean, I used to watch, videos of like the Beatles in the recording studio, but I never imagined that I would ever get an opportunity to do that myself. So once I got into the studio for the first time, that was it. I was addicted. I was hooked. And then I had to do another song and another song and another song.
What did you do before you became a musician?
Yeah, so, and I still do. So I've been an entrepreneur for, over 2 decades. I have a marketing company that does creative product development and manufacturing for brands in all various industries. Yeah. So, I mean, as an entrepreneur, it's helping me in music, right? Because as an artist, you need to work with a creative team, right?
That's right.
Your art. As an artist, you need to work with a digital marketing team eventually, which I have experience with. A content creation team, obviously creating your social media content, your videos. And a lot of artists have merchandise, right? So I'm already working on, some beautiful merchandise, but
you should do shirts because your shirt is awesome.
Well, I'll tell you, this is
Jamaica on it.
This says Jamaica. So I was on Mahogany Beach. There was a little merchandise shack with souvenirs. Right. But in the back, they had all these gorgeous Jamaican Hawaiian style shirts. And I was like, what are those? Because I haven't seen these in so long. And I bought like 6. And then I discovered there is a cut and sew manufacturing facility in Jamaica that makes all of the shirts. So my plan is to bring manufacturing in Jamaica and to sell made in Jamaica Jamaican shirts.
You're a young man after my own heart, and I'll have to send you some of my products because that I work for, and they're just the coolest people in the whole world.
Well, and you mentioned Jimmy Buffett. I'm really taking his lead, right? Because he was a genius when it comes to marketing and branding and merchandising.
He was. I'm going to miss him, but now I have you.
Well, and it all comes down to the music. It's the music is the foundation, the storytelling of the music, and that's really what inspires everything else to occur.
Have you ever recorded with legendary Canadian rocker Bryan Adams?
So here's the Bryan Adams story. So Native Wayne Jobson, my producing partner, has been friends with Bryan for decades. And I was lucky enough to tag along to meet him backstage at Stagecoach in Palm Springs just this last year. And he was so gracious and so sweet, Bryan. And I watched him perform in front of, 100,000 people. And I just was blown away by his performance abilities and how many hit songs this man has. So him and Wayne, we got the blessing to do a cover of one of his first songs from his first albums called Coming Home. It's really an obscure Bryan Adams song that he rarely performs, if ever, live. But it's a song that Wayne would always tell Bryan, hey, you should do that song. You should do it. And he never really did it live. So the idea was for me to cover it. We got Pat Stewart, which is Bryan Adams' drummer since the 1980s, to lay down the drums. We had Bryan Adams, engineer and mixer in Bryan's studio, mixing the song. And so I have a beautiful, basically cover rendition of this song and a connection with Bryan Adams. We saw him recently at the Forum in his performance in LA. He was brilliant. He was really nice backstage. I was able to talk to him because I performed the song for the first time at the Mint. And he asked me, how did that go? And how did that feel? And I told him, it's one of my favorite songs and the audience goes crazy for it. So
Wow.
it's an honor. It's an honor to have any connection to him.
It's been an honor. I'd love to have you back. Absolutely. It's been, you're so refreshing. And, Jimmy Buffett fans are going to absolutely adore you. I mean it seriously. Now, seriously, if you knew how popular Jimmy Buffett was in Cincinnati, Ohio, you wouldn't believe it. They went nuts to see him. And I've been to Margaritaville in Florida, and on the island. And he had something that was, you have that same gift. And, it's like God takes away, but he gives you something else in return. That's the way I look at it,
Well,
And
in his honor,
so what I want to do is I want to re-record all my dad's pieces. And because like I told you before, when you have a father that's a jazz musician and his last wish, Eddie, was to go to Los Angeles where he started performing. He was a prodigy at 15. He was a horn guy to start and then became a pianist and whatever. So ask your mom and dad if they remember Kathy Carr.
okay.
That's who sang a lot of his songs. So anyhow, but
Tell you, in Jimmy's honor, I'm taking my family to the Margaritaville Resort in Palm Springs for Thanksgiving. I thought,
that's awesome.
And I'm so excited because I've never been.
I want to thank you again. I wish you all the luck. We're going to put this on as many places as we can. And I want to thank you very much for joining me today on Kathryn Raaker's World and Let's Just Talk. And your website is what?
It's eddiewitz.com, EDDIEWITZ.com.
Right. And I know a lot of people would love to have you on their shows. Absolutely.